Welcome to Movie Emporium's Flashback Reviews, where I take movies from the past, break them down, and tell you what I think about them. If you like what you see, of course, hit that subscribe button. Join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next, and comment below on any video that you watch on my channel. So I hope, as usual, your week is going well. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying healthy. This week, I'm going to talk about a movie that, to be fairly honest, I really hated when I first saw it. It's a movie that is gained a very huge cult following. It has a lot of famous people in it, and is a movie that it like Clerks and like Napoleon Dynamite, it just took me forever to really kind of enjoy the aspects of what it's trying to do, which is give different perspectives to a character that can lean you either way on your thoughts about what this character is doing, whether it's telling the truth, whether it's all a lie. It's a really fascinating look into the psyche of a human being, and whether that psyche is telling the truth or not. And American Psycho, like I said, it took me several times to really enjoy this movie. There are films that do that to people. There are films that you go into really excited. I was really excited to see this film, and it just didn't work for me when I first saw it. I thought it was kind of grotesque. I thought it was kind of over the top, really kind of demeaning in a lot of ways. But I think in the long run, I think what Bret Easton Ellis was doing was showing a culture of people who had too much money, too much excess, and were bored basically, and they did whatever the hell they wanted to do. And that's what this movie is about. It's about a guy who has nothing better to do than imagine himself or possibly killing people, and being very, very jealous of the people around him, and it really, really shows. And so American Psycho is it's a classic of a movie that is more potent than I ever thought imaginable. And like I said, it's written, the book, at least the book's written by Bret Easton Ellis, who also did Rules of Attraction, and he has a way of writing. I read the book; it's a really fascinating book, and it also leads into a kind of a quandary of what your decision on the whole possible conclusion of the movie is. Did he do it or did he not do it? And there's a lot of like leading factors, a lot of Easter eggs. There's a lot of little crumbs, breadcrumbs spread throughout this entire movie that could lead either way in the idea of what this movie's trying to do. But between this and The Machinist, this is a movie that basically jump-started Christian Bale's career into what we know now. He had done stuff like Newsies, which I really enjoy. I think it's a fun, underrated movie, even though it's very derogative. He also was in Empire of the Sun, so he's been around for quite a while. Equilibrium, which is another fun movie. But this movie kind of really put him on the map of a guy who could be a really, really good actor. And as we see, he is a really good actor. Look at, The Big Short, look at Ford vs. Ferrari. And this movie basically allowed him to play Batman or Bruce Wayne in the Christopher Nolan trilogy. And this movie really shows how good of an actor Christian Bale really is, because he is playing so many different types of people in this movie. He's playing a murderer, he's playing a yuppie, he's playing a very jealous individual, he's playing a character that has to switch back and forth between craziness and saneness and angriness. It's just a really fascinating look into the mind of a character, and Christian Bale really does a nice job with it. And Mary Herron, who is the director of this film, who has done a lot of interesting movies, a lot of interesting dark comedies and so on and so forth, because this is a very dark comedy, she knocks it out of the park. Has a way of creating the 80s like no other. She has a way of just getting into the mind of a possible serial killer, possibly not. And the cast that she got for this movie is incredible. There's a lot of no-name actors that became huge actors later on. There's a lot of people in this movie that I'm like, I completely forgot were even in this movie. I'm like, holy crap, there's that person, there's that person, there's that person. It's like, whoa, I mean, what is going on here? And on top of that, you have Willem Dafoe, who's in a very low-budget movie like The Boondock Saints. And it gives this movie a lot more credibility than it should have, because Willem Dafoe is amazing in this movie as a detective who is either investigating the possible murder of Paul Allen, or he's investigating the possible like infidelity of Paul Allen. It's a really kind of sketchy idea that I'm not really kind of 100% on, but I kind of could flip back and forth, because the interesting character motives about William Dafoe are he's there to investigate the disappearance of Paul Allen, but as this movie is trying to set up, we think that Christian Bale's Patrick Bateman has killed Paul Allen. But there are motives and ideas where it makes it feel like Paul Allen was going to France and he's alive and well, and there's a back and forth about that whole like pulling of the emotions of the arc of that character. And that's what this movie is in a nutshell. This is what Mary Herron has done so well to create this world, to create this architecture, to create the structure of this movie. And this movie is 80s is all get up. This movie is Wall Street mixed with The Wolf of Wall Street, mixed with Boiler Room. This is a movie that is very of its essence and of its time, where even though it came out 20 years ago in 2000, it really feels like an 80s movie. You have the music, Huey Lewis and so on and so forth. You have the look of the New York 80s culture with the big glam, the big set piece, the big over the top clothing, the yuppie nature of like the suspenders and like the blue suits and stuff like that. And you have like, just the fashion is very much present in this movie, is very much its own character because this is the type of stuff we're dealing with in this movie. But Christian Bale's Patrick Bateman character, and as it's said in the book, is a guy that has a lot of money. He's a yuppie on Wall Street. He has a lot of influential friends, a lot of influence in the world of stock market trading and stuff like that. He's a guy that goes to the biggest parties, the best restaurants. He gives a whole indulgent spiel, VO, at the very beginning of this movie about how he cleanses himself when he takes his showers, how he works out. He goes through his like step-by-step process of everything he does, which makes me lean into the idea and thoughts of this movie being about a guy who's just basically really bored, that takes too much drugs and just fantasizes. It almost feels like a fantasy in a lot of ways, a fantastical movie. And but there are so many leading moments where it could lead to him actually murdering people because just the way characters act, the way characters respond, the ideas of what's going on, the fact that Christian Bale is like leaving these messages when he kills Paul Allen. It's just a really kind of fascinating look into the structure of this movie. But he VOs throughout the entire movie. He's talking about like how he hates his girlfriend, who's played by a very young Reese Witherspoon, who has not done a lot of stuff at this point. His best friends, of course, are like Justin Theroux and Josh Lucas, who are once again not really well known. They're starting to come into their own because they're starting to get bigger and bigger roles. Paul Allen, of course, is played by Jared Leto, and Jared Leto, as we know, is a very famous actor now, very Oscar-winning actor. For instance, Chloe Sevigny is Patrick Bateman's secretary. Like I said, Willem Dafoe's in this movie. Matt Ross is also one of his friends. I'm trying to think of who else is in this movie because there's a lot of people in this movie, but in essence, the story basically goes Patrick Bateman says this, and he shows his world. He shows the ideas of what his world entails, taking his girlfriend to these big dinners. He seems bored. He does a lot of cocaine with his friends. You see him in his like office space. We see him, go on a night on the town. And on top of that, he has a very dark secret where it almost feels like a film type style shot segment where every time he does something really dark, it almost plays out like a movie he's seen or a TV series he's seen or something of that nature. And this is the reason I kind of lean towards this being more of a fantasy than anything, because when Christian Bale's character Patrick Bateman starts talking about the things he does, there's a lot of times where he gets into spiels about certain songs, certain movies. For instance, he's watching a movie, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or he's watching a lot of porn. And things start happening in this movie which almost coincide with these things that he's watching or these things that he's talking about. Hip to Be Square is, a good example of just this character that he's talking about before he kills Paul Allen and stuff like that. And you start to see this kind of weird transformation from a more traditional film to a more like over the top zany movie that isn't a movie. It's like a movie inside of a movie. For instance, at the very end of this movie, when he starts going really unhinged, when he dumps the Reese Witherspoon character and so on and so forth, when he kind of ends the relationship with the Samantha Mathis character, who is the drugged up, girlfriend slash wife to the Matt Ross character, he goes on this murder spree that is something straight out of like a movie itself, not the movie we're watching, but a movie in general, where you have this bad guy who is just murdering people, and then the police show up and he's able to murder the police officers, and he just like tries to feed a cat to an ATM, or he tries to he murders a couple people in an office space. And the murder spree is just so over the top and so insane that it almost feels like something that is being taken during a drug trip or an acid trip or something like that. It almost feels like maybe Patrick Bateman is just kind of imagining what he can do. All of a sudden, he has a gun and stuff like that. You know, he goes to his office and he leaves a message to his lawyer, and he basically just feels like a guy that is just completely lost his reality and sanity. And just, you know, when he talks to the Chloe Sevigny character at the very end of the movie, he's just like going off his nut and stuff like that. And then when he talks to his lawyer's like, I don't know what you're talking about. You know, Paul Allen's, of course, in France. I just talked to him. But it's just a really crazy thing to see. And there's a lot of segments in this movie which are like that. Like, for instance, when, you know, we have the prostitute character and we have this, like, really, I think they're both prostitutes. One is like a really rich prostitute. He's doing like this sex tape video where he's masking himself as Paul Allen because I think he lives in this world where he wants to be Paul Allen. He's angry and upset by what Paul Allen's doing because Paul Allen's very successful. And see how he's like transforming himself into like really disgusting human being, how he's treating these women and stuff like that. It almost leads into like a psychotic break of a character that maybe he's imagining this stuff because he watches too much porn or something like that. You know, when he kills Paul Allen, the Jared Leto character, he does it with like a raincoat and a hat axe and stuff like that. He just like starts chopping the hell out of, you know, Paul Allen's character. But it, like, nobody, like, is he, I guess maybe it's this penthouse. It's not really, I think it's the penthouse that Patrick Bateman owns. But you would think that if Paul Allen was last seen with Patrick Bateman as the Willem Dafoe character is kind of insinuating, that they would go to his house and kind of find out if Patrick Bateman has done anything. They would, like, you know, do a warrant type situation, but nothing like that ever plays out. You know, for instance, the Patrick Bateman character, he takes Paul Allen's body that he's killed, stuck it in a bag. He's carrying it through the lobby in this big duffel bag, and there's blood just kind of spreading all through the lobby. And the security guard kind of looks at Patrick Bateman, but doesn't really motion or do anything. And then when Patrick Bateman's outside the apartment building, there's no blood anywhere. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if that's a trick on Patrick Bateman's mind and psyche or something like that. But it's really fascinating because it leads into possibly that this bag is just nothing. It's just a bunch of shit he needs to get away with or throw out or something like that. And of course, the Samantha Mathis character and the Matt Ross character just happen to show up at that exact moment. They're like, "Oh, what is that?" He's like, "It's a Gucci bag or whatever it is." But that's this movie in a nutshell. I mean, there are several moments where you could literally consider him a mass killer because, you know, he is, the way he's acting, the way he's responding, everything could lead one way, but when he's asked questions about Paul Allen, when he's asked questions about these people, he starts to get a little uncomfortable and unhinged, which is a lot of what happens when, I guess, mass murderers and killers are involved with killing people. They kind of give themselves away. And it leads into like the very, very end of this movie where we have basically the prostitute we saw earlier in the movie. He's coerced to come back. There's this other woman. I have no idea who she is. She just kind of pops up. He has sex with them and then he kills the woman. And then the prostitute's like running away, trying to escape. And here's, you know, Patrick Bateman stark naked with a chainsaw, which is why I think this is a movie where he's like imagining this stuff, because he's running around with a chainsaw exactly like Leatherface. And somehow he's able to kind of position the chainsaw as she's running down the stairs, drops it down the stairs, and she's dead. But she's screaming off her nut. She's running through this building, knocking on doors, banging, 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 banging. There's no one in there. Like, no one's answering, no one's hearing anything. And all of a sudden, she dies at the end of the bottom of the stairs. He's able to clean that up in enough time. And then, like I said, it leads into the segment where he, like, shoots a bunch of people and stuff like that. There's, like, the house of horror. The apartment is, like, a house of horrors and stuff like that. He goes back the next day, and the apartment that he has murdered a lot of people in has been repainted. There's people looking at it to buy it, and he is confronted by the real estate agent who basically knows he's Patrick Bateman, I guess. I mean, it's not really insinuated or really kind of, I guess it is insinuated, but it's not really kind of confirmed. And she's like, "You need to leave," which could insinuate the fact that maybe he was a murderer. I mean, there are several times in this where he is very good at kind of cleaning up his mess, but he starts to show the cracks and stuff like that. And it kind of leans into the fact that maybe he really did it, and that his lawyer is very good at basically covering his tracks because of what is going on. But if he's killed this many people, there's no way Patrick Bateman's getting away with this. That's why I lean so far to this other side. And then, of course, the Chloe Sevigny finds a notebook of just all the different murders that he is possibly committed or he's imagining himself commit, and it shows like the different weird ways of doing it. She's like crying and stuff like that, and then it's just stuff like that is just really fascinating to think about when you're watching it, because there's like so many of these types of moments. For instance, when Patrick Bateman is like drawing on the coffee on the table and showing someone the murder or something like that. The fact that I think he does so much cocaine, the fact that he's so bored, the fact that when he's doing this VO segment at the very end, when he's starting to talk about how this confession means nothing, maybe it's a story that he's writing. Maybe it's something he's like writing to the masses or something like that. That's another possible theory of this movie, where everything that we are seeing is just basically a fictional storytelling aspect, where somebody's writing a book, like Bret Easton Ellis is writing this book or something like that, which could be a fascinating idea if you think about it. Because the way it's planned out, the way it's thought out, could be the structure of a book itself, which I really kind of find fascinating. But yeah, I mean, the movie's really interesting. The movie's very, very violent. The movie has a lot of language. The movie has a lot of drugs, a lot of sex. The way Christian Bale just owns this role, you find him so despicable throughout this movie. How he treats everyone, how he acts towards everyone. The fact that he uses his money and wealth to just kind of throw it around like it's, he's the anti Bruce Wayne or something like that. It's really, really, really good. Everybody in this movie is just fantastic. I think the best character in this movie outside of Willem Dafoe and Christian Bale, maybe like Reese Witherspoon or something like that, because she's dynamic in this role. But it's a fascinating movie that does so much with storytelling. There's a reason this movie is just so well liked. It has a great soundtrack to it, a great storytelling aspect. It has like a great sense of style. It just has great everything. It moves at a brisk pace. It's only like an hour and 50 minutes or 45 minutes or something like that. I think every minute spent on the screen is just perfect in every moment. I think the fact that Christian Bale is just owning this role, it's the movie's really good for a movie I hated when I first saw it. It does so much good. It does so much interesting stuff. I mean, just watching how these yuppies work and react to everything is incredible. And just watching how this movie plays out, watching how you could have different theories and different perspectives on what this movie is trying to do is something I find incredible. And like I said, I definitely lean towards the fact that this is more of a fantasy than anything. I think there's just too much there to kind of give away that maybe he's a mass, or that he isn't a mass killer or something like that. I think it leans a lot towards that. But like I said, when you watch this movie, you'll have a different perspective, or maybe lean towards my perspective. And I'll leave it at, before I end this video, I'll leave it at this last piece of information that kind of led me towards this way of thinking. There is a moment in this movie where Patrick Bateman and his friends are basically talking through three ladies in the club. They just snort cocaine and stuff like that. And the one lady says to Patrick Bateman, "What do you do?" And Patrick Bateman goes, "I'm into murders and killings." Okay, I could lean towards him being a psychopath killer. And she blurts out that he's into mergers and acquisitions. That could lean anywhere, but that is such a specific thing to say to a response of somebody who says, "I'm into murders and killings," which makes me kind of wonder if Patrick Bateman actually said mergers and acquisitions, and you think he says murders and killings, which is a really kind of telling thing about why I lean towards the way I lean with this movie. Because there are moments in this movie that do exactly that, where he says one thing and the person completely misunderstands what they're saying, or completely says something different. Like when he talks to someone at the bar and he's saying, "I'm gonna kill her," and string her guts and stuff like that. The place is not that loud, and she doesn't really respond to it, so it makes you think that this is all in his head, and he's just drawing the stuff out to kind of give him some kind of fixation, some kind of excitement for his life that's very boring and banal. But like I said, you could lean it either way. You could lean it to her just misrepresenting what he said. Who knows? But yeah, So that's American Psycho in a nutshell. It's a very fascinating movie. It's a very unique movie, and it's a movie that, if you can handle and stomach the violence, I think you'll really enjoy. So, let me know in the comments below what you think of this movie. Let me know what your theory is of what's going on with Patrick Bateman. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next, and comment below on any video that you watch on my channel. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for checking out Movie Emporium. I really appreciate it. If you want to, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button and the bell at the top. Find out what's coming next for Movie Emporium. Also, check out these 2 videos. They're amazing. I think they're awesome. I think you'll enjoy them too. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.